Chicago, Indiana, that whole area, there were tens and thousands of people who didn't have electricity. Within a couple of days, everybody else had it except for mostly Gary, Indiana, which took longer. Is it because they're black or is it because they're poor? Here's my theory. Gary, Indiana has very poor infrastructure because it has a poor tax base, because it has poor black people. Okay. Now, the infrastructure, this was really bad damage. It's not all on Gary, Indiana. The infrastructure is really bad, but NIPSCO, which is the electrical company that's the provider, the private provider, has been slow to reacting to Gary, Indiana. I don't know why that is. They say it's technical difficulties. Um, my argument is that if this had been a white rich neighborhood, they would have worked blood, sweat, and tears to get this thing done as soon as possible. So I think that because it's a poor black area, they're not motivated to fix this thing and to do whatever it takes. If Donald Trump's cousin lived in that neighborhood, I promise you that thing would have been fixed within days or so. So this is the plight that African Americans have all over the country. We have a poor tax base. We have schools which aren't representative of, which don't provide very good education. One in some classes you'll have 60 kids and one teacher, whereas you go to the white suburbs, you'll have 20 kids and three teachers in the class. So we know that black people, whites will, a lot of economists will say it's not about race, it's about poverty. It may be the case. Yeah, maybe it's just about poverty, but this is not something that it's unforgivable, and there's no excuses can be made for this, and not in the United States for people to have electricity. And what made it worse is that only a day or so ago did this become national news, which means they've been going almost 2 weeks without electricity, and it didn't get in the news. You know, there's a song Tupac calls, "Why would it be in the news? They don't give a fuck about us." If this had been anywhere else, it
Yeah.
would have been in the news. So I'm going to blame the national press. I'm going to blame the local government, but I'm also going to blame the citizens of that area for not raising hell and making sure that this thing got out in the news earlier to cause a stinker. Because once it gets in the news and it's embarrassing, that's when things change. So I think the worst thing was that my sister called me and said, "Oh yeah, you know they ain't had electricity in 2 weeks in Indiana." I said that has to be fake news because that should have been on the news. If that had been anywhere else, if that had been in D.C., not D.C., if that had been in Northern Virginia where they're very rich people, if they went 5 days without electricity, it would be on the national news. It would be on the international news. So this is just another indication of a country that has trillions to spend on war, billions to give Ukrainians, billions to give people in Israel so they can kill kids in Palestine. But in our own neighborhoods, people have to go without electricity for almost 2 weeks. What are your thoughts, Alex?
Yeah, you're definitely right. It's a standard corporate negligence mixed with a system that, treats working class black people, communities like an afterthought. And what drives me crazy about this whole situation is how it is easy for the local leaders to hide behind the unprecedented weather, while
Yeah.
regular people lose all their food, miss work, and scramble just to charge their phones. It's really messed up. And I also don't understand why this wasn't a national emergency because it's not like it's something that is common. Why wasn't it immediately on the news like that? But we know how it is in a situation like this, wealthier communities, they often get more response time compared to communities that are poor, which actually reminds me of the, like, remember, like I just said, that my grandmother's place, electricity can go for a full month and no one is fixing it. And then when we moved to the suburbs, the response time was so fast. I was even scared. I was like, what?
hmm
Wow, this is actually nice. But then, you think about how it's like for people who are back in the village. It's really messed up. It's unfair.
And that means that the black folk in America are living in villages. Those slums, those inner cities are villages. Nobody gives a shit. If you get shot and you get killed, the police come 2 or 3 hours later. Nobody cares. Shoot somebody in the toe in a white neighborhood. I promise you, 2 minutes there'll be five policemen there. So this is what it means to be poor and black.
Yeah.
America. Now, I'm going to also say that the local government and those people, they need to get their act together because here are the things they should have done. I wrote down a list. They should have been holding daily press conferences featuring old people, families dependent on medical equipment. Get that out to the news. They should have had demonstrations outside of NIPSCO offices and state regulatory offices. They should have contacted Chicago TV stations, national black media, and civil rights. Civil rights people should have been down there. They should have used something like some sort of hashtag Gary Indiana needs power, Gary needs power and stuff. I saw none of that. None of
Yeah.
it. And so I'm going to blame the local leaders and stuff for not rallying and just sitting down there quietly until this thing got so bad that finally it starts creeping up into the news. We're talking about this. We should have been talking about this after five, let's say 7 days. Because in America, you will have places without electricity for 5 days, but after 7 days. But for it to get to 11 or 12 days, no, that's not good. Last thing I'll say, this is predictable. They know these storms are coming. The infrastructure is bad. So the local government, the government, whoever, there's supposed to be money to fix the infrastructure so that these things don't fall down and break down so easily, and also to be ready for a quick response when it does happen. None of that's in place, but we have billions and trillions to send for Israel to kill kids in Palestine, for Ukraine to be Russia because we don't like Russians, so we need to kill them. So we got to pay Ukraine to kill them and to kill themselves.
Yeah.
Money for all of that. Those billions or trillions would have solved not even just a fraction of those things, 100 million, 200 million, would solve these
Or
problems,
even improve the infrastructure.
infrastructure, and the response and the resources. So, what are your thoughts, Afolabi?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you guys have said. It's simply put, they've not been prioritized. Basically, Gary has not been prioritized. They don't see them as important. I mean, utility companies usually restore power first to the elite, communities. They didn't see this as an urgent call. I mean, it was they're basically being treated as in Chicago's media shadow, so to speak. So, and if you look at it, there have been years of underinvestment. I mean, the neighborhood is very poor. There are a lot of old electric poles and power lines that are exposed and are susceptible to this kind of problem. And they have limited resources. So they are not just being prioritized, they've been neglected, abandoned. And when this kind of thing happens from such a high moving wind that can affect infrastructure like power, you can see that the city itself doesn't have the capacity. And because they're not priority, the government itself is not treating it that way. So, and I may be wrong, it may be related to the fact that it might just be a black dominated community. I don't know, but those things play into all these things.
It's not overt racism. It's not like, oh, we're not going there because black people are going there. They're like, we're not going there because it's too expensive to do it, and we don't have time. We have to focus on the rich neighborhoods. But
Yeah.
but these black neighborhoods, there's a reason why. There's a reason why they're poor. It's historical oppression, housing discrimination, all kinds of things that haven't been redressed. So it indirectly it's about race. Because
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
if this was with his poor white people, I think you might have seen the same thing. They might have been treated a little bit better. But in general, black people don't get proper service delivery in America when they live in black cities. If you're a black person living in a white neighborhood and you're rich, yeah, you're cool. But the majority of black people don't live in the suburbs. They live in the hood. All right. Uh,
Yeah.
Alex, before we go to the next topic. Yeah.
My last thought is that, you know, I feel like they should, the local leaders should have a sit down with the committee, I don't know if the mayors, have a sit down with them and they should sue. I think they should definitely sue the
They didn't,
company. They should
I don't
sue.
but overall, suing is good and all that, but this needs to change because something like this will happen again next winter or next summertime. So there needs to be like some serious change. But they should also sue because this is ridiculous. 11 days without electricity. I'm not going to go into it, but I follow. Remember last
And you
year?
can't even afford to buy other groceries.
No. Yeah, and
Hmm,
then groceries.
really bad.
So very quickly, then before we'll move on. I thought, remember last year in Mississippi, there was no water for almost 2 months, and people had to buy
Yeah.
water in the store to take bath.
You
And
can
this is America.
imagine. Yeah.
This is a this was during COVID, the COVID years when there was COVID. People had to buy bottled water to bath. I'm done, man. Let's go to the next topic.